beach out here waking up. And yeah, and I know people have seen what's going on. Marriage is under attack.
Yes.
And it needs to be discussed.
Yeah, it's under attack by the media, and there's a specific type of marriage that the media is determined to destroy.
Right.
So in this video, we're going to be discussing how the media is attacking these marriages, and more importantly, what it means for Black relationships.
Yes, right. So we'll let y'all go ahead and come on in, give y'all a few minutes to come on in. Thank y'all for being here.
Welcome.
Yeah, this is a discussion that Bob and I really wanted to make a video on this back when the first interview happened. Back, I think it was like in December last year. And it was all this like coming for this couple.
Yes.
And we didn't actually end up creating the video, but we were talking about it amongst ourselves. And it's really disturbing to see how this keeps coming up with this particular couple, right? You don't see this type of hostility in other couples. Today we're talking about specifically Jonathan and Simone Owens.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we'll give y'all a few more minutes to come on in, drop your location, where you are, where you're joining in from.
Welcome, Ebony Charday. She says, grateful to hear your wisdom and perspective.
Thank you, sis. Thank you so much for being here. And Lady A on YouTube says, greetings, positive creation energy to you both. Thank you so much. So we're live on YouTube and on Instagram. So yeah, this is a very important topic because we've been doing videos for years now about relationships, and every year the attack on specifically marriages. Relationships are under attack too, but in this video we're going to focus on marriages and how the media doesn't want us to be in marriages. And because of that, we're really seeing this push, this hostility, this unfounded hostility towards people who have committed to one another. Okay. So, yeah, you want to go ahead and?
Yeah, so the first thing we want to key in on is the title of the video. So the title of the video is Mr. and Mrs. Owens and the Media Attack on Marriage. So the title is important because notice we are calling them Mr. and Mrs. Owens.
Right.
Now, when you say Mr. and Mrs. Owens, it's not exactly clear who we're talking about because the media label for this couple suggests that they're not even married. So they will call him Jonathan Owens, but they will call her Simone Biles.
Right.
You know, so that already is telling us, okay, there's this habit within the media not to recognize when people get married, to honor that marriage by saying, okay, I'm no longer going to call the married woman by her maiden name.
Yeah, right.
It's very similar to, for example, when Muhammad Ali changed his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali.
Or Malcolm X.
Or Malcolm X. He changed his name from Malcolm Little to Malcolm X. Imagine the media when they continuously called him Malcolm Little, or they called Muhammad Ali Cassius Clay. They were saying whatever the transformation that you went through in your life, it isn't important enough for us to let go of who we know you as.
Right.
So we have to understand when we're consuming media, one of the main tactics they use is linguistics, meaning they don't have to even tell you what their agenda is. Sometimes just through the word usage, you can pick up what message they're trying to convey. And the main message they're trying to convey in calling Simone Owens Simone Biles is that even though she's married, that shouldn't alter how we refer to her.
Absolutely, absolutely. And before we get too deep, I want everybody to just take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, okay? Because the things that we're going to say in this video are very counter to what you are used to hearing, counter to the propaganda of what relationships are. And you may feel triggered. You may feel an uneasiness with the things that we're going to say. But it's important that we remember that we're pulling from something ancient, right? Where this is not, this whole hostility to relationships is new.
Yes.
And we're not pulling from the newness. We pull in, and we're not being led by the propaganda. We're being led by something with our core, our mission, our principles. Sure. And it's really important to understand that. And I brought that up because the name, recognizing someone's name is a principle when they get married. When we were younger, there was no, we never called our teachers by their maiden names. You see, so it's very important. And a lot of people are like, well, y'all just being nitpicky. It's not that important. That's her name. That was her name before. It's not everybody's gonna, know to remember to call her by her new name, but it's about intentionality, right? And when you see these other celebrities, they at least hyphenize it, right? They try to figure out a way to incorporate both names,
right.
But there's no attempt.
Right.
It's just Simone Biles, Simone Biles, Simone Biles, Simone Biles. And we know that the people that are doing this are doing it intentionally, because when you look at the comments, when you look at the media that's sharing this, they know what they're doing. Like if they wanted to acknowledge her upgrade, right? Because that's what marriage is, his upgrade, her upgrade, because this is the thing for him too. He is a husband now. So put some respect on their name, right? Put some respect on their name. And when we don't do that, whether we're conscious of it or not, we're playing into this degradation of relationships, of marriage, and we're undermining things that are actually there to make us better people.
Right. And we also have to consider this is someone in Simone Owens who's proud of her marriage.
Yes.
Now, she's not the type of person who is just very discreet about it. She's very vocal and outspoken about the fact that she values being a wife. So at the very least, as Mama Jahi says, you would think they would hyphenate her name, but no, the consistent usage of her maiden name, even though she's a proud wife. So that's the first point in the term this media assault on marriage is they will ignore your marriage name for your maiden name unless you literally have to force them to abandon the maiden name.
And this is, like we said, this is only a certain type of marriages. And in the next section of this video, we're going to actually talk about the certain types of marriages that warrant these type of attacks in the media. But every marriage does not go through this. We also have experienced things like this, because when you're dealing with couples and you're dealing with married people who have a mission and who are mission oriented and are rooted and understand the value of marriage, that's where the attack comes. Because not every couple centers their marriage. Some people, you don't even know they married, right? And so it's really important that we understand who is susceptible to these type of attacks in the media when it comes to marriage.
Right. Yeah. So next we noticed in the media treatment of the Owens, Simone and Jonathan Owens, is there's this tendency to place the medals over the marriage. Meaning when you hear the accolades and all the accomplishments that they credit to Simone Owens, they don't credit the fact that she's a wife. They don't credit the fact that she actually values marriage. Instead, what they say is she's such an amazing Olympian because she's won all of these medals, ignoring the fact that even from her point of view, meaning if you visit her social media profiles,
she's very
at the top of her bio, she's highlighting the fact that she's a wife. So again, this is another example of when we're dealing with the media that's anti-marriage, they're going to hold up individual accomplishments as more important than shared accomplishments.
Right.
Okay, because those shared accomplishments, that's what really kind of defines the trajectory of our lives more than our individual accomplishments, because we're living for our families. We're living for others, not just for ourselves.
Yes. Like that is where the power is. And Simone has cracked the code. And this is what makes other women mad when they hear her speak and when they hear her reference her marriage and when they hear her center her marriage, is they can tell that she's figured out how to cooperate with a man, how to cooperate with a black man at that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about race and how race plays a lot into this further down. But it's very important that we remember that Simone puts her marriage in front of us, and people who don't value it turn their backs on it, and they're like, well, where's the medals though?
Yeah.
Well, I want to see the medals.
Yeah, just move
move that out the way.
Move the commitment to vows and the commitment to familyhood, and put in its place the worldly accomplishments of gold medals, because those gold medals, she can't really pass that to her children.
No, she can't.
But when she has children, she can pass the dynamic that she masters within her marriage to her children.
Yeah.
So this is about us being more discerning in understanding the media is never invested in those things which can generate intergenerational wealth for African people. They're always going to want us to invest in those things that feed our ego, that make us feel important as individuals, but really don't speak to our responsibilities as members of a circle, as members of a family.
Absolutely. And if for anyone that's maybe hearing this video for the first time, my name is Naila.
And I am Bami.
And we are relationship investors. So we essentially created platforms and we created systems and programs for you to create a high value relationship, prepare for a high value relationship, because relationships are our greatest asset. Yes. And when we devalue that and when we neglect that, we live very dysfunctional, very disconnected, very depressed prone lives, because we're not meant to be separated. We're meant to be in community. We're meant to be with a partner, with a spouse that has committed to us. And so because there's such a huge media push and such a huge societal push for us to devalue our relationships, to focus on being single, to talk negatively about men, to talk negatively about women, we really need people who are still invested in relationships. And that's who we are. Yes. We invest in our clients' relationships so that they can prepare for something greater.
Yes. And that's important, because again, those relationships, they activate the best in us, meaning they teach us the skills of accountability. They teach us skills of conflict resolution, intimacy, shared sacrifice, all of those soft skills, as Mama Jahi mentioned in another video. Those are cultivated in the context of relationships. So again, we have to place a lot of our mental focus on how are we valuing our relationships and how are we investing in our relationships beyond just monetary investment, but investment in terms of changing our priorities and changing what we find worth investing time and energy in.
Yeah. And this is not just an opinion. This is truth. We don't do opinions. That's too fickle. We don't do that. We come to you with the truth, and we come to you with what we have known to work for eons, right? And relationships, the way we're doing them is not functional. And so this is who we are. This is what we value. We've been helping and guiding people in relationships for years now. So this is not, we're coming from a space of deep understanding of how to have a truly functional relationship, how to manage relationships between the Black man and the Black woman, and how to scale those relationships so that we can really experience the abundance and the fulfillment that we desire when it comes to our relationships. So I just wanted to put that out there, because just in case anyone didn't know who we were and what we do, you can follow us at Indivisible Trust on Instagram, and make sure you're subscribed to our email list, because we constantly put out content about relationships and we give guidance on that. So this is why we're so passionate about this topic. This is not just like, oh, this is what's trending. No, this is what we value. This is our life. This is what we didn't have, right? We didn't have people investing in our relationship. We didn't have people reminding us how valuable relationships really are, how to manage them, how to scale them, how to make sure we have something to pass on to our children within our marriage, right? Not monetary, spiritually, like emotionally. How do we treat each other? These are values that we're pushing within Indivisible Trust.
Right. So we opened the video talking about the interview, the famous interview with Jonathan and Simone Owens. This was the interview that generated all the commentary about, oh, he doesn't value her and he thinks he's the quote unquote prize. Which he never said. But in that interview, this Simone Owens stated how she valued herself so much as a wife that she even placed it above the gymnastics. And what we saw that this was an example of is what we call a united front image. And this is a core concept that we teach through Indivisible Trust to our clients, because the united front image, what it does is it politically empowers our relationships in the public space so that we can act in unison and normalize high value relationships. Okay. So united front image, this is tapping into the political potential of your relationship. What is the shared vision, and how does that shared vision assert itself in the public eye?
Right.
All right. So when we're talking about the united front image, there's three principal traits I think we can focus in on. The first trait is united front image relationships are modest in their sexual expression. Do you want to explain what that means?
So this is when you see couples who don't oversex themselves within their relationships, because oversex in relationships invites infidelity, and so it invites people who want to destroy your relationship. It gives them the green light to come and do that, right? And so whenever you see couples where the man is constantly sexualizing the woman, okay with her just wearing essentially anything, there's no protective energy from the man to the woman. Same thing with the woman, she has no protective energy over her man either. Those relationships are always more prone to attacks, Attacks not from people trying to destroy their relationship, like attacking them, how they're attacking Simone and Jonathan, but in the sense of there's women that now want to come in and like slide into the man's DMs, or like because the man is essentially creating space. He's saying, I'm not a protector, so if you want, like it's fine. And so the sexual modesty is very important when it comes to having that united front image in relationships.
Right. Immodesty attracts covetousness towards your relationship. It invites people who want to undermine. So you secure your relationship by being very discreet and modest in terms of how you express your sexual personality.
Yes.
Secondly, united front image relationships value shared achievement over individual achievements. Now, this was graphically shown, I think, in the aftermath of this year's Olympics when Simone Owens, after she won one of her many gold medals, what did she do? She took a picture with her husband, Jonathan Owens, and who was wearing the medal? Jonathan Owens. Now, this elicited outrage in the cyberspace, because they was like, wow, why would she give the medal to him? He didn't earn it. That's her medal.
There's no such thing.
There's no such thing, because remember, when we're talking about a marriage, this is two becoming one. This is shared achievements. So what she was showing by having him wear the medal was saying, even though she was doing the gymnastics, even though she was the one who earned that medal, because Jonathan Owens, as her husband, was that emotional support, because he was there encouraging her, because he was there being present, and showing up for her, that accomplishment, she wanted to share it with him. So when we have a culture that can't recognize that fundamental aspect of marriage, that every achievement is shared, that's another example of how we're sliding down this, this path of anti-marriage.
Absolutely.
This agenda of feminism, as Sister Ebony Sade.
She said it. We're going to talk about feminism later on down on this, because we can't not have this discussion without talking about what feminism really is, who's behind feminism, and how it's playing a role in how we relate to each other as men and women, and how other Black women relate to other Black relationships. Because a lot of this attack is coming from other Black women. Right. And so because Black women have drunk the juice of feminism, they drunk, right? And they ready to come attack any woman that they can see that has cracked that code, that has figured out how to sustain relationships with a Black man. If you figure that out, and then you actually come out and you start saying that you're proud of that, and you put that marriage and that relationship at your core and your center, you're on the chopping block, okay? Because I've felt it myself. So this is not even necessarily about her and her stardom, right? This is happening to women who aren't famous, right? This is happening to everyday women who put their relationships first. And this is why you have a lot of married women who don't even do that, because they can feel that if I actually center my marriage and I actually show that I value it, and I actually wear it as a badge of honor, and I try to encourage other women to see the value and the prestige in this as well, they're going to come from me. So I'm going to just keep it cute, keep it on mute, and not even encourage women to really reshape how they're approaching and understanding what marriage really is.
Exactly. And that's basically the third trait. The third trait is the united front image. Relationships put the marriage before their careers. There's no such thing, oh, I'm more than just a wife, or I'm more than just a husband, or I'm more than just a mother, I'm more than just a father.
Right.
Because when you say I'm more than just, whatever comes after just, you're saying that position is of lesser importance than the position you state after you say that position. So what we have to understand is a united front image marriage says that our marriage is not just an aspect of our life, but it's the generating principle. It's the organizing principle, the guiding light in terms of how we make decisions. We make decisions through complementarity. We make decisions through consultation. You make decisions with a sacrifice mind state. So all of this goes into putting that marriage at the center.
Yes, and we teach this. This is what we teach couples how to do, because we don't learn this. Our parents, our grandparents, they did not teach us how to enter relationships with this very humble spirit. We enter them based off what we think we're going to get, or the status that it gives us, but not actually how to cultivate them. And so Blue Mind, she said, yes, we do. You can enter even if you're not married. We actually have a guide called the Pursuing Partnership Guide, and it's curated just for people who are preparing for relationships, because this is important for you too, whether you're in a relationship or not. You have to understand that there's an attack, that when you do get in a relationship, you don't get surprised, because people who are married and people who are valuing relationships and trying to encourage other people to do so, they get attacked. And so you have to have principles, you have to have morals and values in place before that relationship happens. And so this is why it's important for us to remind single people, yes, you may not be partnered yet, but your future partner is gonna manifest.
Right.
And you don't want to wait until that partner comes and manifests, and then now you're like, oh, let me scramble and figure out what I'm supposed to do. No, you want to have a blueprint already there for you. So to answer your question, sis, thank you for asking that. Yes, we do it on, if you visit indivisibletrust.com, you can actually visit the link in our bio. You will see the Pursuing Partnership Guide there. And that's essentially what we would advise you to do to prepare yourself for relationships.
Yes, so good question. So preparation is definitely key. So we're talking about the united front image, and we have noticed that the Owens, Mr. and Mrs. Owens, are very intentional in presenting a united front image, and we affirm what they're doing to resist the media campaign to divide.
Absolutely. This is what we encourage our clients to do. We literally have a section in the Indivisible Trust blueprint where we actually speak to couples or people who are preparing to get married, like relationship or marital pre-counseling. We actually have a section in there called the United Front Image, where we talk about how important it is if you're going to be on social media, if you are going to be in spaces where there's other people around, you have to know how to put your marriage as a united front image, because without that, you're susceptible to attacks. And even with it, really, because this is the thing at this point, relationships, it's like literally walking around with a huge chain around your neck. You know how rappers be getting their chain snatched?
Yeah.
It's essentially like walking around with this very
rare commodity.
The less people get married, the more valuable it is. It really was. It's always been valuable to us, right? But in the West, a lot of people are trying to demonize relationships, demonize marriage. And so the more that happens, and the more you actually see people actually figure out how to maneuver and actually get married, you're going to see people want to attack those people. And this is why societies with a bunch of single people are always more dysfunctional. They have more suicide rates, they have more depression rates, they have more PTSD, anxiety. All of that is the case when you're dealing with societies that are run by single people. It's not sustainable. And this is why, it's really important for you to integrate in societies where marriage is centered, marriage is valued, because those people, even though we have problems, even though there's issues that we may come into contact with, we still at least have people who go home at night and have someone to commune with. That is very important, not just to us, but to our children too.
Yes, marriage in that regard is a shield, because when you're in a media-driven culture such as the U.S., they can really alter how you think of yourself unless you have someone who you're in an intimate relationship with, who knows you at a deep level, who can combat those notions.
Literally, you become different people when you're married. This is not just like, oh, I just want a ring. It's deeper than a ring. Like that's so trivial. And the society has made us focus so much on the ring and the wedding that we don't even know how to sustain the actual marriage. And so it is truly like walking around with the most rare commodity on you, and people want to snatch it. Right? People want to figure out how they can undermine it, especially if you're trying to tell people that they can have it too and they don't feel like they can do it. If they really feel like they're not valuable enough in marriage and you're telling them you can have this too, they're gonna get mad at you. They're gonna be like, how dare you challenge me? I don't have the tools for this. And so it's really important. But like Baba said, we really want to commend and we affirm what Jonathan and Simone are doing, because people their age don't typically do that. People their age get married, and sometimes you don't even know. Sometimes you be like, is this person married? Like, I wonder if he's married. I wonder if she's married. And it's like, no, they taking all the guesswork off the table. And this is how you protect your marriage. But because they're in the limelight and they're doing this, they're actually they're utilizing an approach that is very anti the space that they're in.
They're shifting the narrative.
They're getting more attacks from women, and particularly from Black women, right? And from white women too. they're attacking them because for them, this is counter to what they've been taught who men are.
Right.
For them, they believe men can't be in relationships. They think men are stupid. They're dusty. They don't know how to do anything. They're lazy. They're annoying. They're nasty. They stink. Like what all these realities that they put in their mind, for them, they can't understand how a woman can stomach not just being married to a man, but literally saying, this is my husband. I'm affirming him and I'm proud to be his wife and he's proud to be my husband. So now let's go ahead and talk about the media attack, because we kind of been hitting at it, but we don't want we want to give it a true we need to attack it because it's attacking us.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to attack it. Okay.
It's counterattack on the media.
Okay, go ahead.
So first we want to state that the media propagandizes women to value sisterhood more than marriage. Now maybe we should have put sisterhood in quotes because this isn't a true sisterhood. This is a sisterhood of scarcity. Yes. This is a sisterhood
of envy.
This is a sisterhood that's not based on anything truly substantive.
Yeah.
That translates into sustainable gains for us as a people. No, this is a form of sisterhood that sows division. This is a form of sisterhood that creates broken houses.
Pulls you out of
the home. And then makes it seem as though the man is your enemy as opposed to your complement.
Yep.
So and some of the ways we see this glorification of sisterhood over anything else, sisterhood over marriage, is there will be this campaign to where they will celebrate any type of bond that Simone has with other women, meaning her fellow gymnasts. So when she wins a medal, and they have like the award ceremony, and it's three women on the podium. If Simone Biles gives her humbly gives praise to the Brazilian champion, they say, "Wow, this is a beautiful illustration of sisterhood." But when Simone gives her medal to her husband, the man who is with her every day, who speaks to her every day, who shares life with her, who is supposed to stay with her through sickness and health, to death do them part.
Yep.
When she shares her medal with him, now it's suspicious. Why is she giving the medal to him?
What's the quote we said last night, Baba?
So basically what you have is that in the current media climate that's driven by a feminist ideology, women would much rather have women as competition than men as partners.
Yep. So
women as competition than men as partners.
Listen, as long as you're a woman, they like, listen, you supposed to be on the same team as me. And I'm like, man, I'm on the team with my husband and my children. Okay. And so it's very, very, it's a slippery slope. It's so easy to get caught up because it's under the guise of like, we're sisters and we have to put our womanhood first and we go through different things than men and they don't understand us. My husband understands me. I reject that. And your husband and your man could understand you too if you weren't drinking the juice of feminism, right? And so a lot of this is, what type of content are you consuming? What are you engaging with? What are you laughing at? What movies are you watching? What shows are you watching? Because this is all shaping how you really understand what relationships are. What's the stat that we saw yesterday, that people who watch TV are more prone to divorce?
Yes, people who watch television frequently are more prone to divorce because and this study was carried out by the University of Houston, and they did what was called study based on what they call cultivation theory.
Yes.
This is the more you consume a particular form of content, the more likely you're to adopt the messages and live out the messages that's in that content. So what they found was that people who watch romantic comedies, soap operas, divorce court, or movies and TV shows where divorce is the theme, what it does is it destigmatizes divorce, because for most of history, starting in the up into the 1970s, divorce was taboo. But then after the 1970s, this is when feminism came about, and when they wanted to remove the stigma from divorce, they wanted to remove the taboo. So now you could talk about divorce openly. And it was portrayed in television and it was portrayed in movies. And the more of this content that people consume, they developed a positive perception of divorce. So now that when they face difficulties in their relationships, the tendency to choose divorce was higher because they had already seen models in the entertainment industry that told them that divorce was not something that they should be trying to avoid.
And removing stigmas is a part of feminism. They love, like, let's remove the stigma. No, put the stigma back.
Yes, stigmas are needed.
The stigma is needed.
Yes.
There's stigmas in other parts of the world, and their divorce rates are much lower because they have stigmas. Some things don't need to change, but the white person is never comfortable because they ain't supposed to be.
Yes.
I know we going off back, you know, how we used to be, and we still like that. But I'm just saying it's very important to realize that this whole narrative of removing stigmas, this is preparing you for singlehood. This is preparing you to be isolated. Because the stigma is there to protect us. Yes. The stigma is there to keep us on track. And the more we remove these stigmas, the more we're opening ourselves up to things that we ain't never had to deal with before. It's never been this many single people in the West, ever.
Right. It's an epidemic.
It's an epidemic of loneliness. It's literally articles talking about how lonely people are. People are killing themselves at astronomical rates. But you remove the stigma, though. Let's remove the stigma. Right. No. Put the stigma back. That's where it's supposed to be.
And in traditional African societies, taboos weren't only held, but they were cherished.
Yes.
Meaning we had taboos such as you don't have sex during pregnancy.
Put that stigma back.
We had taboos such as land is not a commodity that can be bought and sold.
Put that stigma back.
You see, and taboos were specifically there to maintain moral order.
Yes.
But when you enter a Western society, taboos are seen as restrictions that are there to be violated.
Yes.
So when you violate the taboo, that's seen as now I'm free, now I'm liberated.
Yes.
Meanwhile, for the African population, we're becoming more enslaved, we're becoming more backwards and more confused.
That's what we see happening. The more they remove these stigmas, and they remove the stigmas of divorce. This is why you have literally people will put signs in their yard that talking about they having a divorce party, or they put stickers on their car praising the fact that they're divorced. People will congratulate them on their divorce. That was never a thing, right? But the more that we see this type of content, the more when we do see marriage, we don't, and sometimes we don't even know why we're hostile. I think a lot of Black women don't even really know why they're hostile to the relationship. A lot of this is subconscious when they're dealing with Simone, and we're going to also get into what it is too, because there's more layers to this, right? We're going to unpack them all. But there's some people don't really even know why they're mad. They just see other people upset and they're like, yeah, this must be the right thing because so many other people are doing it.
And that's the nature of effective propaganda.
Yes.
Effective propaganda isn't so clumsy that you know what message they're sending you. Effective propaganda is subliminal, meaning it's through suggestion, it's through innuendo, it's through insinuation.
Yes.
And if they can covertly poison your subconscious mind with ideas, then you can watch it thinking that you're just being entertained, where actually what's happening is you're being programmed. And this was also shown in the University of Houston study, which showed that people who consume excess television time, they also developed false notions of marriage, because they said marriage in television is romanticized, meaning when there's a conflict on a sitcom, it has to be resolved within 22 minutes. You see, that doesn't happen in real life. It takes longer than 22 minutes. It takes longer than an episode of Martin for the problem within the relationship to be resolved. But if you're watching TV, you're romanticizing marriage and you're destigmatizing divorce. So whether you value marriage or not, it's the media consumption that is keeping us single.
Yes, and the media consumption is the section that we're on. And this is who also is attacking Simone and her husband first. The media first, and then the people just follow because they're drunk on media. They are addicted to media. They are going to just follow the narrative. And so the narrative right now in the media is we don't care about marriage. There used to be a time where the celebrities were getting married and they wanted you to see them and they were all in the tabloids and stuff. And now they're like, thanks, but we don't value, marriage is not a value anymore. So we want single celebrities. And if you happen to be married, we're going to trivialize the marriage. We're going to ignore the fact that you're married. We're going to actually do things and say things that highlight that we actually want you to get a divorce.
Yes. And if there is marriage mentioned in the media, it's serial marriage.
Yes.
Meaning married, divorce, married, divorce. So
Habitual.
People like Steve Harvey, where he gets married and divorced 3 times. Or people like LaToya Luckett, married and she's now in her 3rd marriage. So if you're going to show marriage in the public spotlight, it can only be people who have been divorced prior more than one time.
Yes, and this is why Simone and Jonathan Owens are unique, because this is their first marriage. There were no children before the marriage, meaning he didn't marry her because she was pregnant. He married her because he saw value in her, and that is unheard of in the Black community at this point. A lot of women believe that the man don't marry you unless you have a child by him, and even then he can still decide if he wants to or not. And so to see a man commit to a woman who didn't have a child by him first, it hits a lot of women. It hits them even harder. Like it makes them feel so inadequate. It makes them so upset and angry that they want to come for him and come for her, come for their relationship, and it needs to be called out.
Yes,
because
it clashes with the dysfunctional reality in which they live. And that's the thing about propaganda. Even if the propaganda isn't really helping you develop in a positive way, if you normalize it, they're going to defend it. So what you have now is people defending their own dysfunction because they're made uncomfortable by the challenge of seeing two young people choose marriage in a society that is intent on destroying the institution.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now let's talk about how, when it comes to other relationships, the media is very intentional. And this is why we said you got to pay attention on the type of couple they are. They aren't just a married couple. They're a married couple that has a united front image. And because of that, they center their marriage. They make sure that they're together a lot. They support each other. And there's clearly an element of care and value for each other there. And that is nauseating to people who don't want people to be in relationships. And so the media is praising couples who are dysfunctional.
Yes. Or they're quiet when you don't have the same level of commitment.
Yes. So let's talk about it.
One example is A$AP Rocky and Rihanna. A$AP Rocky has 2 children with Rihanna. Has he proposed to Rihanna? Has he uttered the word proposal to Rihanna? Has there been speculation that he might propose to Rihanna? So with her, they've normalized this idea that it's okay to impregnate a woman and then reproduce or procreate with her 2 times and be a millionaire. It's not a financial issue that's preventing it. So what's preventing it? Because the social agenda is that marriage doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's just something you do if you feel like it, but it's not something that's necessary for the protection of children. Because remember, in the African society, marriage ain't even for the man or the woman.
It's for the children.
So if you have children, well, of course you should get married. Why would I want to bring a child into an insecure environment where the father can leave at any point? I want to commit to the mother so the mother is psychologically well, and then she can pour into the children.
Marriage isn't for everybody. Everybody doesn't want to be married.
So
then don't have children.
Exactly. So what we find is the destigmatization of divorce has led to the discrediting of marriage as a necessity. So now you can have billionaire women like Rihanna have 2 children without a husband, and nobody sees it as odd.
Nobody's coming for him in the comments. There's no hostility to him. There's no hostility to Rihanna. Nobody's telling her to leave him. We're telling Simone to divorce her husband. So nobody's doing that to A$AP.
So what's another example? So we have 3 examples. Another example is DDG. This is the father of the child of Chloe. What's her last name?
It's not
Chloe.
The other one,
Holly. Yes, I always get the twins mixed up. Holly Bailey. What is it? Holly Bailey, who played the mermaid and famously played the Little Mermaid in the movie. She has a child with a rapper by the name of DDG. Again, not married.
Nobody's coming for these people.
There's no commentary. There's no articles. There's no people spamming his Instagram saying, why aren't you marrying the mother of your children? But if Jonathan Owens says, I didn't know who Simone Biles was before I met him.
How dare he?
This heinously disrespectful
man. How dare
man.
he try to give her her flowers?
Let's call him Mr. Biles instead of Mr. Owens.
Let's say she's not your wife, you're her husband.
Let's emasculate him, even though he committed to a woman. Let's emasculate him. Meanwhile, the men who have children with women but don't marry them, they cool.
We don't have no problem with that, because like we said, this is an attack on marriage, not even just relationships, marriage. And they're showing that they value marriage, and this is why people are coming for them. This is nothing to do with, they're not really, this is not just like, he just said he did an interview though, but the interview, they're married.
They're married.
that he committed to her already.
Words above. You can't put what somebody says and your interpretation of what they said, and make that more critical in your analysis than what they're doing.
Yes.
Because if you look at what he's doing, then you got to reevaluate. Okay, maybe these words, I'm putting too much emphasis on it because in the department of action, I see him showing up.
Another one is Big Sean.
Yeah.
And they've been together longer than all the other two people we just named. Nobody is coming into him, going to her, going to him, telling them that they shouldn't be together. There's no commitment. And there probably will never be any commitment.
And he even made a statement about it saying, I don't think I'm ready for marriage yet. He's not ready for marriage, but he's ready to bring a child into the world.
Right. So you see relationships that are not there's no commitment. The media is perfectly fine with that. Yes, give us more. Yes, give us more music. Give us more pictures of you together. Have all the baby showers. Give us all of it. We want it all because there's no commitment. There's no marriage, and this is why we set an attack on marriage specifically.
And lack of commitment is preferable because when you have a couple who isn't committed to one another, they're easier to play against each other and they're easier to manipulate.
Yes.
You see, so the commitment is the shield to protect yourself against the manipulation. But we live in a society where manipulation is the primary method in which we interact with one another. You know, so that's the issue. We have to analyze what is it about commitment that the powers find so threatening to the point that they're ignoring the lack of commitment, even when it's screamingly obvious that it should be there.
It should be there, right? And the commitment is what keeps us protected. Our children are more protected when they're in spaces where there's commitment, right? And so it's very important that we look at these things, because if we just get caught up on the trends, on what's happening and what other people are doing and how people are just like coming for this couple, we are sowing energy that is going to keep us single. Like women who go into these type of comments, or women who encourage other women or think it's funny and think it's all jokey, hee hee ha ha to see this happen. I want you to understand that you're inviting prolonged singlehood on your life. So don't engage. You want to read some of the comments?
Yes. So thank you all for commenting. We do see your comments. We just get fired up sometimes.
Yeah, we do. We're going back now.
Okay. So it says, even Ebony Sade says, even in relationships, it's still this focus on the woman is, quote, better than her man. So she doesn't need him even after having his baby. Yes. Because remember, the primary responsibility of the man is protection. So when the child is born,
again, Bible?
The primary, not the secondary, even above providing. The primary responsibility of the man is protecting. And sometimes people like, protect from what? Protect from the enemies of African people. White men, white women, white children, white culture.
Right. Or anyone that wants to come in.
Anybody
and
wants to come in and cause chaos in your family. The man is there to protect his children and his wife from those entities. So whenever you see this aspect of the woman saying she's better after the child is born, what she's doing is she's confessing that she doesn't have the most elementary understanding of what the responsibility of men is, which is to protect the family, to be the front line of defense, to be at the gate when the enemy arrives.
And we need protection from our men even more after we have children. Like it's
more,
not
because the woman is more vulnerable.
We're more vulnerable after we give birth, after we give in life. We need his protection. So it's that is definitely a thing.
So Sister D says women are settling because the men are telling them they don't want to see the value of marriage and commitment anymore. All right, what do you think about that?
So women are settling because men. So this is the thing though. The women, we decide if marriage happens or not. That's why the man asks us if we want to be his wife. We set the tone, and if we are constantly calling men dusty, if we are constantly engaging in content that undermines who the man is, makes him think that his power is in providing and not in protecting, and if he doesn't have certain things and we don't want nothing to do with it, well, the more we do that, men start being like, they don't want to be married to us. Clearly they don't want to be married, so I'm not gonna marry this woman. And this is what is different with Simone and Jonathan is he didn't allow that propaganda that is being put even in front of him. I'm sure he's seen it too, but he didn't let that stop him from getting married, and she didn't let that stop her from valuing men, because she could have easily been like, I don't need no man. I'm a gymnast. Like, he can't. I got muscles, and he can't protect me. I can protect my. No, she was like, I need a husband, and he was like, I need a wife, and so that is where we're messing up at, is we don't think we need each other.
Right. Or another way of putting it is, all major change begins with accountability. So meaning a lot of the time when you see men say, oh, well, I don't believe in commitment, it's because there's been this narrative, feminist narrative amongst women where they're saying marriage is an institution that enslaves women. It's patriarchal. It doesn't give them the right affirmations that they need to actualize their vision in life. And remember, all these lines are coming straight from the mouths of white women, because every institution, whenever you look at marriage, the culture is defining it. It's not being defined by the law. It's being defined by the culture, meaning how you relate to it. And this is why we're so intentional about putting forth this African definition of marriage, because when you look at what marriage means in the African context, it's less about the personal satisfaction of the man and woman and more about the protection of the children and the expansion of the family. But in order to divorce from that Western concept of marriage, it will require some accountability on the part of women, saying, is the concept of marriage that we are taking in one that was given to us by our ancestors or our enemies?
Where did it come from?
And then when go ahead.
I was just affirming what you said. Where did this idea of marriage come from? Because this new idea of marriage is very foreign to us. Biologically, this is not how we viewed marriage historically.
Right. And then when that accountability happens amongst the women in terms of how they think of marriage, the men will follow suit, because traditionally, again, the women have been known as the cultural administrators. Meaning what comes into the culture is because the mind has changed and the perception has changed amongst the women.
And this whole narrative of feminism, because you're about to get into that section, that's the next section, which is feminism. But feminism, they love saying patriarchy. Patriarchy, the patriarchal system is what has created this. You birthed the patriarch. The patriarch came from your womb.
It didn't come out the sky.
The men that are patriarchal grew up in homes with white women. This is not the white man. This is the white woman.
They weren't raised by men.
Right. They were raised by women. So she puts that word and she throws that out there to throw you off, and you be like, yeah, it is the men. Yeah, over there. And she like, got him again. Dummies. Because who did he come from? He was raised in a home with you. How are you a feminist, or how are you a woman who values womanhood, but you raise men that want to so-called oppress women? That's you. That's you working through the man. Women, we have more power than patriarchy that term has allowed us to believe. We get to dictate how the energy flows within the home, how the man treats us. We have so much power in that. But the white woman, she's repulsive to the white man. And so for her, she has to figure out, how can I demonize him and hide my hand so that nobody knows it's me, right? And so this is why this next section, we're going to talk about feminism. And I've actually I've been talking about this for a while. Bob and we both have talked about it, but I myself have videos on my own talking about feminism, talking about how it shows up in the Black woman and how it literally rips our essence apart from the inside out. It rips who we are. It severs our connection to God when we engage in this feminist energy. And so it's very easy to get caught up in it, right? It's very easy. And even some men will be like, yeah, patriarchy is...
It's a such thing as male feminism.
Yes.
Feminism is not gender specific, it's culture specific.
It's culture specific.
I mean, it's white culture specific.
Exactly. And so, so I'm about to, before we go into this next section, I'm going to read a comment that we got on the video that we did. And it was a video of us together. You want to read it, Baba?
Sure.
So just start at the second part, because they don't need to hear the first part.
She says, please do your research. Y'all sound like you're speaking from pure emotion instead of doing real research to back your opinions. And the lady of this relationship, meaning Mama Jahid,
talking about me, right,
needs to step up her throat chakra game and stop letting that male speak for her. He is not your connection to source. You are indeed his key to it. So let me repeat that. He, meaning me, is not your connection to source. You are indeed his key to it.
Stop letting him harness your power and control your tongue.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the comment. We got this like a few days ago.
Yeah.
And this is not the first time we've got comments where you can tell the person is trying to come and divide, right? And sometimes it's not that overt. That was one of the more overt ones. A lot of other times it's just like, why she talking?
Yeah.
Why he letting her talk? Like, so it's been subtle, but this one is a lot more overt, and it's very interesting because in this video that she commented on, we were specifically talking about politics and the Black relationships. And the thing with us is we're always on one accord. We're always on one accord, and that is the thing. That's the United Front image. That's what literally it makes the feminists just like break out in hives. She start glitching because it's just like to see a Black couple push through all that propaganda and push through all of those barriers to relationships, come out and still be able to not just show up, but show up on one accord. They don't like that. And so she made it a point to try to tell me that I have power without him. And I want you to remind all my sisters here, it's no such thing. I am who I am today because of him, and he is who he is today because of me. And so this girl, actually, I'm calling her a girl intentionally because she commented multiple times on the same video, and another comment, she actually ended up deleting it. But one of the comments that she said was, she said, dang, I just forgot.
The comment you talking about the other comment that she didn't get to say. It was basically like, stop letting him talk for you. But I was gonna mention there was another incident where this happened, where we was on Clubhouse and it was a room where they was talking about relationships.
Oh yeah, and I remember that.
Mama Jahi and I, we were basically giving our perspective on relationships, why it's important. And the moderator of the room said, wait a minute. Why are both of y'all, who is talking? I don't understand. Because everybody else in the room, it was like the man's side and the woman's side.
It was divided.
They was going to war against each other. And we came in on a united front and said, okay, here's what the reality is, and here's what we need to do. I'll speak my piece, she speak her piece. And then we come to a consensus. They like, what is, y'all can't do that.
She was like, you can't do that. You're breaking the rules.
You're breaking the rules. This is supposed to be a fight, not a discussion.
She didn't like it because she only knew how to really moderate with the energy of the man is against the woman. But we was like, no, let's bring us together. Let's mend this gap. And she was like, stop it. I can't understand what you're saying. And we weren't talking at the same time. We were literally doing what we're doing right now. But for her, it was just like, stop it, make it stop right now. And so I forgot all about that. But that's a good example of how, like, when you are on one accord, some people don't even have the verbiage. They don't, it's like you're speaking another language to them. They're like, I don't speak this language. I only speak, I hate the niggas language. Like, that's the only language I know.
And if I'm a man, I'm supposed to say she for the street.
Like
100 times.
100 times.
You know, like, even though my mother looks like the one who I just said from the street.
It don't make no sense.
It doesn't make sense. So it's very self-destructive and counterproductive when we think that we cannot have dialogue and everything has to be a debate.
I remember what she said now. She was like, the future is female, babe.
That's what she said, yeah. The future is female.
I'm not trying to be in no future where it's all females, okay? Miss me. Again, no, what are you talking about? But see, these phrases that we just heard, and they're just like little catchphrases, and you just say them, and like, yeah, the future's female.
And the future
I have sons.
And the future isn't female. What is the future?
Right.
What is the future?
The future is the Black man, the Black woman, and the Black child. And I said that to her. And she deleted her comment because I'm like, wait, where you going? No, then she was like, you're a pick-me. And I'm like, yes, I am. What's wrong with being a pick-me? But see, this is that narrative that you're being picked by a man who actually doesn't like you, or you're trying so hard to be, for men or for the family. And it's like, I'm for the family. And I see the attack on Black men, and I'm going to come to the defense, right?
And think about that response, though. She said, the future is female. And Mama Jahi responded, no,
lesbian. Yes.
No, and Mama Jahi responded, no, the future is the black man, woman, and child. Notice the child never enters the conversation. And this will lead us into our topic about envy, because envy comes out of cultures of neglect. Meaning envy comes out of culture where the child is non-existent and everybody's individualist. And what we're saying is that when we're thinking about the future, it's the man, the woman, and the child.
Exactly. Even Donna, she said, how is the future female? What? Right. What about our husbands, fathers, sons, brothers? Exactly. But see, this is the thing. Feminism, because they don't know how to cooperate with men, they've convinced themselves that men are useless. And they created these sister circles where they can come together with their wombs and harness this energy where they are just fixating on each other. And the man has no space in that. No man is going to want to come into a space and care for and provide for and protect a woman who has a bunch of feminist friends. Like, he's like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, this energy is not sustainable in the home. So you can go be by yourself with your sisters, your homegirls. Go be with them, because this is where you feel like you belong, and that's what the feminist wants. The feminist wants that separation. And we have a whole video about Lilith, and we talk about you can read it. Go ahead. We have a video where we talk about Lilith, and this Lilith energy, this white woman Lilith energy, is what feminism is. So feminism is just the religion of Lilith.
That's the descendants of Lilith.
The descendants of Lilith. They practice feminism, and it's how they find value in their lives by convincing other women, when they see them with men, that they're actually more powerful than they are. This is also, if you think about the story in the Garden of Eden, the snake, which was really a woman, a white woman, a snake, came and told the other woman, like, hey, you don't got to listen to Adam. You don't got to listen to God. Like, why don't you just come and do this over here? And try to implant things in their mind very subtly, under the guise of, I'm your friend. I'm trying to help you. You're so powerful. You really actually have more power by yourself. And it's like, that's the type of energy that Satan does. It's like, she comes in and she says something that makes you be like, maybe I am powerful by myself.
It disturbs your sense of self.
Exactly.
So you start to question.
And it's a seed that gets planted. And that's why it's important that even if you don't believe it, you have to speak. And what Christians would say is rebuke it. Rebuke that. Because that was intended to separate you, even if it wasn't right now. Later down the line, this is why you see people, sometimes they'll be married for 20, 30 years, 15 years, and then one day they'll just get a divorce. And they don't even, people are like, wait, what happened? Why are y'all not together? There were seeds planted in that relationship over years, over decades, and they didn't hit them down. They didn't knock them down. They just let them kind of sit there. And those seeds grew, and all of a sudden they like, I can't do this anymore.
Right. So we talked about feminism as a religion, basically a doctrine that controls their lives. But in terms of behavior, one of the ways that feminism exercises itself is through envy. Envy is also closely associated with witchcraft. So whenever people are talking about witches, the way they tap into that spirit of evil or sinister spirit is they're full of envy. And when we're talking about envy, we define it in 3 principal traits. Okay, so the first trait of envy is that it's deficit based. And by that we mean people who have envy, they're always operating at a deficit spiritually, meaning they don't have confidence, they don't have esteem, they don't have any real belief in themselves. They don't know how to take initiative. They're usually full of fear. They've probably experienced a great deal of neglect in their early life. And all these traumas kind of become impacted in them. And this creates a sense of emptiness within them. And that emptiness, it makes them covet what other people have. And that comes out in the form of envy.
And we're specifically talking about this right now, because now we're talking about the people who are in the comments, the women that are in the comments. This is what they're suffering from. They're suffering from a deep space of envy. And I just want to go back just a little bit, Baba, to highlight that these women don't even like Simone alone. Like, Black women as a whole, there's a few of us that like see her and affirm her outside of what she can do. The backflips, that's secondary, right?
Yeah.
But we can see her, and we can see that she has values, and we affirm that within her, right? And but that's a very small group of Black women. But a lot of Black women, they saw her even before she started, getting to the point where she is now, and they would talk about her. That's why they was talking about her hair. They was talking about her body. So notice, even before she was married, there was these undertones of jabs and envy, right? That was happening to her outside of her being married. But now that she's married and she's actually valuing marriage, now it's like, how dare you? I told you that. You see, so now it's like they're really upset. And so we have to remember that this, and what they're also doing is the envy. It disguises itself as praise.
It's false praise.
So they'd be like, I love you're so amazing. You're the most decorated gymnast, and you're God,
you're
and
the queen of the
best,
universe.
You do the best backflips ever. And oh my gosh, your sisterhood, it's so amazing. I love you, but I don't like your husband though.
Yeah. The thing that will actually help her grow and develop into her higher self.
I'm gonna need you to take that praise, and I don't want that.
Yes.
Because, and this is why it's important that we recognize the difference between gratitude, people showing gratitude and affirmation for you, and praising you. Because a lot of times the praise is infused in that is envy, and they're just building you up to tear you down. And we see that with her all the time. We see constant articles, constant comments in her comments and his comments, talking about her, making fun of her, making fun of them. And it's like, where's this hostility coming from? And it's really because she has principles. She's not a Sexy Red. She's not a Megan the Horse. She's not a Cardi B. She's not a Beyonce. She's literally someone who has, compared to them, has way more principles, and those principles are intimidating to women that are feminists. Right.
So essentially what Mama Jahi just described was the second trait of envy, which is envy is an affirmation of failure over others. So you know how somebody can wish you success?
Yes.
When somebody envies you, that is their way of saying they want you to fail.
Right.
And usually the way they express their desire for you to fail is what Mama Jahi said. They'll find the most superficial accomplishments and they'll feed into it. I love how you do those backflips, but I don't like the fact that you want to add substance and wholeness to your life through a husband. You see? So the way you show you actually value someone is you find that part of their life that will contribute the most to their long-term prosperity, and you highlight that. And you don't highlight the more superficial thing, and then don't say anything about the more substantive thing.
And it's happened with me. People, women have come up to me and being like, I just love this, and this about you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you.
What
and
you do for women.
And what you do for women. I'm like, but I'm always with my husband. So we do things together for women and men. So why are you not? So, but it takes a very rooted person, and it takes someone who's operating from a space of gratitude to be able to reject praise.
Right.
That is a skill.
You have to have your ego in check.
You have to have your ego in check. You can't just accept all praise, right? Because not all praise. Well, praise, I believe, all praise is coming from a space of envy. And when you actually want to give someone affirmations, you affirm them, and you say, I'm so grateful that you're doing this, and you express that through your actions. It's not just something you say, because anyone can come and just be like, I love this about you.
You contribute.
You contribute.
You offer something of tangible value.
Exactly. There's an exchange, right? or the person who you're praising, their life and your life look very similar. You see, so when people come and they try to praise you, and you like, but you don't. I saw you the other day, and you was talking about how men is dusty. Is you telling me that? No, see, so it's very important that you know how to reevaluate who is giving you these affirmations, and when to accept them and when to reject them, because you can't just accept all praise. And what these women are doing in these comments when it comes to Simone
and Jonathan,
and Jonathan, they are giving her praise while also it's like a backhanded compliment. They're disempowering her.
They're making her fixate on the medals, so she doesn't pay attention to her wedding band.
Yes, that's her medal right there.
Her medal is on her finger, not around her neck.
Right, her medal is in the commitment that her husband and her have spoken over each other. That's the medal. Okay, the gold medals and the silver, that's easy for her. She can do that in her sleep. This is not hard for her. Like, so for her, this is like, okay, yeah, I can do this, but I can also be a wife. I can also be a mother. And you're like, yeah, but who cares about that? Let's talk about and it's very, very frustrating, especially when you are married and you want other women to be married and to see the value in marriage. Because all of this, when you look at these comments, what it's telling you, whether if you're not married or if you are married, what it's telling you is marriage is not a place that people find value. Yeah. I'm not protected in marriage. There's no reason for me to get married, because if I get married, people are gonna be coming for me. And this is all subconscious, right? And so
it looks unattractive because it paints a target on your back.
And this is why people were getting married more back in the day, because nobody would attack people because most people were married.
It was a sign of prestige.
It was a sign of prestige, and it was less single people than married, but now it's more single people than married people. You see? And so this is why it's really important that you live in societies where there's a lot of married people, and you also ensure that your chances of getting married is higher if you live in a space where most people are married. But if you live in a space where most people are single, your chances of getting married are less. That's
and
just
if
the
you
reality.
Live in a society with a lot of divorcees, because divorce is a contagion. Meaning, there's a study that shows married couples who have divorcees in their social circle are more likely to experience divorce, because either the man or the woman, by spending time with the divorcee, start to learn that divorce isn't really a negative thing. So they're more likely to go through with it. So that third aspect of envy, if we didn't state it, was the envious person also steals the essence of others. All right, that's the last thing they want to do. Basically, it's not enough for them to see you fail, but they want to take your spot. All right, so
so give an example is a woman sees a man and a woman married, and she doesn't say, "Dang, I wish I had a marriage like that." She says, I want that man. You see, like the difference is she's not saying like, I'm gonna use this relationship as a blueprint, or I'm gonna use it as a way to inspire me for a future relationship for myself. She says, no, I'm just gonna take him from her. That's just the easiest thing to do, right? Because these are women who are lazy, who don't want to have to figure out if a man is marriage material. So a man that actually marries a woman, they're like, great, he likes marriage, I'm gonna go take him.
They don't have to do any work.
They don't have to do no work, because they know he values marriage, because he's married. Even if he's maybe not being faithful, the fact of the matter is he saw value in marriage, and I'm too lazy to go actually cultivate and find a man that will I have to actually work. We have to work together to get to marriage. I want a man who already know likes marriage, and I can just slide in and replace her. So that's the difference. And so all of this to say that the media attack is serious and it's deep, and they got endless amounts of money, endless amounts of access to your Instagram, your Facebook, your Netflix,
data mining,
your YouTube. They got endless amounts of access to you, meaning they can slide in ads, they can slide in stuff on your popular page that is going to push the narrative that relationships are not important and that you can thrive in your single space. You don't need no man, you don't need a woman. And this is what we're trying to remind people, is this is not sustainable. This is how societies literally fall. When there's no marriage, there's no society. This is how a lot of the societies in the past have fallen. Looking at Rome and Greece, they weren't getting married.
And remember, the reason societies fall when marriage declines is because marriage is the most qualified institution to raise children. And children are the future of the nation. Meaning, if the children aren't growing up in environments that are safe and secure, then the nation is not going to survive. And this is why African nations have such longevity, because African nations, and I'm not talking about post-colonial African nations, I'm talking about the ancient pre-colonial African nations. They had longevity because they always centered children, but the only way they could center the children was by making the institution of marriage sacred. You know, and when you take away the sacredness of marriage, when you take away the prestige of marriage, what you're doing is you're throwing the children to the wolves. And then what happens is you have adults that are looking at marriage as optional, looking at marriage as a burden, looking at it as just a financial scheme or just a piece of paper. And we're challenging our people to outgrow and to reject that notion, because it's as time moves forward, is returning more and more destruction.
And a lot of this really,
to our society.
And a lot of this is not your fault, our fault. Our elders that we grew up around did not prepare us in the ways that they should have. They were busy trying to do what they needed to do to get in corporate spaces and to provide and all these other things. So some of this is not your fault. Some of this is we didn't have this information either. I at one point was very brainwashed when it came to relationships as well. I had a very Disney World idea of how relationships work, and it just takes a lot of work. And someone on YouTube said triggering, but love y'all though. Yeah, so that's, I mean, good. It's triggering. This is actually the stage right before change, right? So it's okay to be triggered. Right. And the problem is people don't want to change, so they don't want to be triggered. They don't want to be triggered because they don't want to change. And so we had to get triggered. There was things that we were doing and things and ways that we were moving in relationships that we had to be like, oh no, like that's not right. We were triggered, but it actually created space for us to evolve and mature.
So it says we all need to do the self-work. It's an international process. Peace and love. I agree. Yeah, that's we call it intimacy with self. Basically, knowing who you are prior to the relationship, and then in the relationship, learning even more about yourself through intimacy with your partner.
Exactly. Someone else says, Ellie says, it's so bad when toxic things become the norm. Yes. Yeah. Yes, it really is, and that's what we're seeing. Like when you look at the West. The reason why it looks so bad and the people are like, this is the worst it's ever been is because toxic things have become the norm. And if you fall into that trap, you were now just going to be a toxic person. Like toxicity is just you at this point. And so.
Right. And toxicity has become the norm because there is no real culture of health in the West. Even if you look at medicine, like they only know how to heal based on looking at an ill person.
They don't look at healthy people.
They don't look at healthy people as a model on how to heal.
They look at the sick.
They look at the sick. So in the same way that they don't know how to heal bodies, they don't know how to heal minds. And this is why we constantly are referring. This isn't just like some type of like trendy thing for us.
No.
We look at the African model as the ideal model for not just social organization, but for internal healing. Because in Africa, we have a model of wholeness, meaning everything is connected to everything. And when you acknowledge that wholeness, what you're doing is you're not leaving anything out.
Right.
You're not sweeping anything under the rug. You're addressing everything in a very straightforward and honest way.
Right. So the takeaway here is united front image is important. You want to show your relationship is united. Actually, someone on YouTube asked a question and she asked a question about should you show your relationship or should you that? She said, would you prefer not posting your partner at all or just withdrawing from social media altogether? So
if you're on social media and you're married, you should be posting your partner.
Yes. And if you're not on social media, then that's fine. I mean, it's nothing you can do. But a lot of people are on social media, and if you're on social media and you're in a relationship and you want that relationship to be protected, you have to present it as a united front. This whole like I'm protective over who I'm with. No, you're not protective. You're actually putting the relationship in an unprotected space. And if you value a relationship, you show who you value and who you're protecting, especially men. Like if you're with a woman, we need to know who you're protecting. Who are you protecting? And women, we need to see who is your protector. And when you hide your partner, you are inviting more dysfunction into your space. So it's a different type of dysfunction. So they're getting dysfunction too. They're getting not dysfunction. They're getting hostility. Simone and Jonathan are getting hostility, but it's just hostility that comes with the territory of a high value relationship.
Right.
You see? And we talk about high value relationships in Indivisible Trust.
And when it comes to social media, it's not just showing your partner, but it's also expressing what the dynamic is, because there's plenty of pages where you'll see partnerships, but they're full of skits, they're full of like jokes, they're full of like pranks, and, just all types of like trivial, nonsensical content.
Yeah, you want to disengage.
So you don't want to display your relationship in a way that trivializes it. But you want to make sure when you're showing your relationship, you're talking about what the effect is on you on a psychological level, on the level of your life goals, because what that's going to do is going to make you more determined. In the same way they say when you write something down, it's easier to commit to it. So when you have your relationship and you're investing to the point where you're saying, okay, I'm going to share what this relationship does for me on a level of the mind and my goals in life, then when in your real life, you'll find that she'll be more effective, because now you've put it in a public space and it's like a way of holding yourself accountable. So people see that and they go, okay, this person is serious. So it's not just showing it, but it's demonstrating what is the dynamic
and use your
relationship.
Right, and use your discernment. Right, use your discernment when you're looking at people's relationships, because some people do know how to do what Baba just said very great, and they still don't have that functionality. So a lot of it just takes discernment and being rooted in your values. What are your values? Because if you have values and they're rooted in something genuine, when you do see these couples, you'll be able to say, nope, I can tell. I don't even got to look too deep. I can look at it and tell what it's not. Versus if you don't have those values and you don't have those principles, you're kind of just going with the flow, and everybody relationship look great. Blueface and Crystalline relationship, amazing. What's the problem? Because you have no principles, right? That's probably a more drastic, because obviously most people knew they was dysfunctional, but it's a lot of couples out here who are very dysfunctional, but they're still together and people praise them just because they have no principles themselves. And so with Indivisible Trust, we're giving you and we're reminding you what the ancient way of doing relationships was, how sustainable it was, meaning we didn't live in societies where divorce was a thing. So we want to get back to that. We want to get back to relationships that are long lasting, that are fulfilling, that have intimacy, that have trust, meaning we not wondering if the person is cheating on us. Like, we have a mission and we know how to scale our relationships, right? Just like how you scale a business, we're supposed to be scaling our relationships. Okay, and we teach you how to do that with our offers with Indivisible Trust. We also offer one-on-one relationship action plan consultation. So this consultation is essentially, if you're in a relationship, this is to help you prepare an action plan for success, right? Because a lot of times we're in relationships and we just winging it. I like him, he like me, and we go together and we like being in each other's presence. Well, that's not sustainable. So let's create a plan. What are the goals for the relationship? How can this be sustained? How are you envisioning yourself in the future with this person?
How are you as a potential mother or father?
Yes, these are all things that are so important. And we want to bring that seriousness back to our people, because we value our people and we want to see y'all in relationships. We want to see y'all in healthy relationships. We don't want to be talking to our clients and there's abuse and there's just like hurt and just so much trauma and all that. Like, it's very important to be preventative. So don't wait until there's an issue and then people reach out to us and it's like, I wish you would have reached out before this. You want to be preventative. You want to make sure that you take your relationship seriously as if you would a business venture, right? More seriously than a business venture, because business is nothing compared to marriage, right? Marriage is way more important than business. So we said a lot. And the main takeaway here is
we want to promote the Indivisible Trust Relationship Action Plan Consultation.
Right. So that's what I was just saying.
So this is what Mama Jahi was speaking on. And this is just our, basically our offering and giving you actionable advice on how to acquire the tools and methods and ways of thinking so that you can add immune system to your relationship.
Yes, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give your relationship an immune system.
Right. And that immune, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the immune system, is basically, we're saying that even though you may not be able to see every threat from a mile away, it's based on how you structure it. Even when that threat appears, it won't have any effect because your immunity is so built up that it's not affected negatively by those forces.
Right. So whether you're single in a relationship, if you're single and you're pursuing partnership, what are you doing right now so that when you become someone in a relationship, you're relating to people the way that you want them to relate to you. Right. So as a single person, relate to married people when you get in your relationship, you want them to relate to you. Be intentional about that, because that is very important. And what we're seeing people, because they're not in relationships, they're like, well, I ain't in a relationship, so I can go on these people's page and say whatever I want. It's like, but if you get in a relationship, how do you want people to relate to you? Right? And the more you give that authenticity, the more you give that sincerity, and the more you affirm, in those ways, you are creating space for that relationship to manifest. And how are you valuing relationships? What why do you want to be in a relationship? Do you even know what relationships are? And this is what the Pursuing Partnership guide kind of teaches men and women.
Yeah.
What a relationship is, how to prepare, how to heal from breakups. Because a lot of us, we actually had a whole live. If you haven't seen that one, last week we did a live about healing from relationships. And a lot of people,
healing from breakups.
Healing from breakups. A lot of people they still on their last relationship. Even though they're not in the relationship anymore, they're holding on to it and they haven't fully healed. And they're carrying that hurt with them in every aspect of their life. And so, go ahead.
And we also teach how to access your creative value.
Creative value streams, right.
So that's important because the core of your relationship has to be some element of creativity.
Yep.
You can't just rely on, earning power and thinking the earning potential in the monetary sense is going to sustain you.
Not enough.
Because there is a cap to that. So when that earning power caps out, okay, what do you have left in the realm of creativity?
And we see it all the time with celebrities. Celebrity relationships do not last. They got the money, they got the coin, what people like to say. They got the money, but they can't sustain a relationship. So it's deeper than finances.
Yes.
It's deeper than that. And we're really opening up, we're ripping the veil off of all of these narratives about relationships, and we're giving you the honest truth, and we're giving you the blueprint and the guide so that when you enter your next relationship or you're in your current relationship, you can figure out how to cheat the code. Because the code right now is wired for failure.
Right.
That's the code. So you need a cheat code to be able to maneuver through this web of singleness and attack on relationships to really be able to have the relationship that you desire and you deserve. You deserve relationships. You need relationships. We need them. This is how we become the best people that we can be when we are in relationship, healthy relationships. So we want to just end this live by commending again Simone and Jonathan Owens. Simone Owens, you are doing such a great job. And affirm that in her, right? Affirm that in him, because the attack is real and people want to see them divorced. And it's really, really sad. And don't engage with that. Don't follow people who engage with that. Don't encourage it, because it's going to come back on you at some point. So we thank y'all for being here. We will definitely save this live. Share this with someone who needs it, because a lot of us need it, right? So share this with someone that needs this type of guidance and this type of understanding about what relationships are. So until next time, we will see y'all in our next live.
Yeah, see you next live.
All right. Kwaheri.